I found out the truth about my ex-girlfriend 2 years too late. It started with a DM. No profile picture, no username I recognized. Just a message that read, "You should know what really happened the night she said she was visiting her mom." Attached was a video file named truth.mp4. Against my better judgment, and with my heart already pounding, I clicked. The video opened to a shaky phone recording, a dimly lit apartment. My ex, Rachel, laughing, holding a wine glass, sitting way too close to someone I had never seen before, someone who clearly wasn't her mum. The timestamp? 3 days before our big fight. The one that ended it all. The night she came back cold, distant, claiming she needed space. And in that moment, 2 years of carefully constructed closure shattered. We'd been together for 3 years, met in college. She was magnetic, one of those people who could charm their way into or out of anything. I was the quieter one, steady, loyal, maybe a little too trusting. Looking back, there were red flags I had painted green. Her phone was always face down. She had work emergencies at the weirdest hours, and the way she'd gaslight me when I asked questions? Masterful, but I didn't see it, or maybe I didn't want to. After we broke up, I went through the usual stages: grief, anger, numbness, acceptance. I boxed up our photos, deleted her number, muted her socials. Eventually, I convinced myself it was for the best, that we were just bad for each other, until now. The anonymous account didn't stop with the video. Over the next few days, more messages followed. Screenshots of texts, snippets of conversations, voice notes. I don't know who sent them. Maybe a friend. Maybe someone she wronged. Hell, maybe she sent them herself, out of guilt. But the truth unraveled like a slow-motion car crash. She had been cheating. For months. Not just with one guy, but multiple. And worse? She told them I was the unstable one, that she was trapped in a toxic relationship she was trying to escape. She used me as a cover story, a villain in her carefully curated lie. So what did I do? I wish I could say I rose above it, took the high road, closed the chapter and walked away. But I didn't. I confronted her, texted her the video, the screenshots. I asked her one question: why? Her response: "I don't owe you anything anymore, let it go." That's when I realized the girl I loved never really existed, just an illusion, a performance, and I'd been the audience. But here's the twist. This isn't a revenge story. It's not even a heartbreak story anymore. It's a wake-up call. Because once I stopped obsessing over her, I started questioning me, why I ignored the signs, why I stayed, why I confused possession with love. And somewhere in that wreckage, I found something unexpected: peace. Not because she apologized, not because I got closure, but because I finally stopped waiting for it. So if you're reading this, wondering if the truth is worth digging up, even years later, here's my answer: yes. But only if you're ready to face not just what they did, but why you let them. After that last message from her, let it go. I tried to. I really did. But the thing about knowing a piece of the truth is, it makes you desperate for the rest. I found myself scrolling back through old texts, rereading emails, replaying conversations in my head like a detective, piecing together a cold case. Every memory now felt suspect. Every sweet moment had a shadow behind it. But it didn't stop there, because the anonymous account sent one more message. Check his name. The guy in the video, he's not just some fling. A name, an Instagram handle. I clicked, and my blood went cold. He wasn't a stranger. He was someone I knew. Barely, but enough. A guy named Marcus who used to come around our apartment when Rachel started volunteering for that non-profit. I remembered how she once joked that Marcus was a total flake and how she couldn't stand his pretentious film taste. Turns out, while she was rolling her eyes at him with me, she was rolling around with him behind my back. I did some digging. His page was private, but the profile pic said enough. Rachel was in it, sitting on his lap, in my hoodie, smiling like she'd never broken a single heart in her life. The post was 2 years old, dated before we broke up. That hoodie? I thought I lost it. She must have taken it with her when she left. I don't know what came over me, but I messaged Marcus. No threats, no drama. Just one line. "How long were you with her while she was still with me?" He read it, didn't reply. But then I got a message from someone else, Marcus's current girlfriend. She had seen the notification pop up on his phone. What followed was a floodgate of information. She told me Marcus had a pattern, that Rachel wasn't the first girl he'd stolen and probably wouldn't be the last. But more importantly, she said Rachel was still in touch with him 2 years later, still texting, still meeting, still lying. That was the moment it stopped being about heartbreak and became about something else. Understanding the person I had let into my life. I started reaching out to people from our past, friends I had fallen out of touch with. people who had subtly distanced themselves when we were dating. What I found shocked me. They knew, not everything, but enough. One friend told me Rachel had flirted with him at a party while I was out of town. Another admitted he tried to warn me once, but she got to me first, twisting the narrative, saying he had made a move on her and was trying to break us up. She had isolated me, slowly, quietly, one relationship at a time. That's the thing about manipulation. It doesn't happen in big, obvious blows. It's little cuts, just enough doubt, just enough charm, just enough plausible deniability, and I bought it, all of it. So where am I now? Honestly, still processing, but there's something powerful about looking the truth in the eye, even when it hurts. I used to think she broke my heart, but now I see I gave it to her without asking enough questions, and maybe that's on me, but healing starts with owning that. There's more, if you want to hear it, about the confrontation that did happen, about the secret she was hiding that goes even deeper than cheating, and about what I did next. Not out of spite, but for closure. Let me know, because this story isn't over yet. I didn't plan it. I wasn't sitting around plotting revenge or rehearsing a speech in the mirror. But life, or fate, or whatever you want to call it, has a sick sense of timing. It was a Saturday. I was grabbing coffee at a local spot I hadn't been to in over a year. I almost didn't go. I almost ordered ahead and picked it up. But I didn't. And that's when I saw her, Rachel, standing at the counter, ordering her usual, vanilla oat milk latte, no foam. Wearing my old band tee like it was just another Saturday for her. Like the last 2 years had never happened. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I was calm in a way I hadn't expected. I walked up to her. She turned, saw me, and froze. "Wow," she said. "Didn't expect to see you here." I looked her in the eyes and asked one question. "Why Marcus?" For a second, she didn't answer, just blinked. Then she gave a little laugh, nervous, fake. "You're still stuck on that." I didn't say anything, just let the silence do the work. And that's when she cracked. "He listened to me," she said. "He made me feel seen. You were always so busy trying to fix everything, always playing therapist like I was broken. It was exhausting." That hit harder than I expected, because the truth is, she was hurting back then. Her dad had just passed. She was spiraling, emotionally, financially. I spent nights talking her down from panic attacks, helping her manage bills, covering rent when she missed work. I gave everything I had to keep her afloat, and now, standing in front of me, she was telling me that made me the problem. "I needed an escape," she said, quieter now. "Marcus was easy, no expectations, no history." "But lies?" I asked. "The manipulation? Telling people I was abusive just to cover your tracks?" She shrugged. "I didn't think you'd ever find out." That sentence stayed with me. Still does. Not sorry, not I was wrong, just I didn't think you'd ever find out. It was never about guilt, it was about getting away with it. That's when I realized she hadn't changed, but I had. I didn't scream, didn't throw my coffee or make a scene. I just looked her in the eyes and said, "You don't get to own my story anymore." Then I walked out, and I meant it. Epilogue. Closure didn't come in a grand moment. It came slowly, quietly. In the weeks that followed, I unfollowed, deleted, unsubscribed from every little thread that kept her tied to my life. But more importantly, I forgave myself for not seeing the signs, for staying too long, for confusing loyalty with love. And that forgiveness? It's the most freeing thing I've ever felt. If you're still with me and you've been through something like this, if someone shattered your trust and left you doubting everything, I'll say this: you're not crazy, you're not weak, and you're not alone. Some people will lie because it's easier than telling the truth, because they want to be the victim in their own story. But your healing doesn't depend on their apology. It starts when you decide you're worth more. It's funny, when people talk about closure, they make it sound like a finish line, a clean cut. One day, you get your answers and suddenly you're fine again. But that's not how it works. The days after I saw Rachel again were strange, not painful, not even emotional, just hollow. Like my body hadn't caught up with the fact that the war was over. No more lies to chase, no more secrets to uncover. And yet, I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up expecting a message, a new revelation, another bombshell, but silence is its own kind of answer. One night, about a week later, I got a DM from someone unexpected. Emily, Rachel's former best friend. They'd had a falling out right after we broke up, and I hadn't thought about her in years. Her message was simple: "Can we talk? I think I owe you something." I hesitated, but curiosity won. We met at a quiet bar. She was already there, sipping a drink, and when she saw me, she didn't smile, just nodded. "I wanted to apologize," she said, "for not saying something sooner." Turns out she knew everything, about Marcus, about the cheating, about the web of lies Rachel spun. Not just with me, but with nearly everyone in her life. She was spiraling, Emily said, and when I tried to call her out, she cut me off, told people I was the toxic one. Sound familiar? Then she told me something that hit harder than I expected. She used to say you were her safe place, Emily said, that you were the one constant she could rely on, but I think that scared her, because she knew she didn't deserve it. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated. Part of me felt sad, not for her, for who I used to be. The version of me that gave everything. That thought love meant sacrifice, no matter the cost. That confused being needed with being loved. After that conversation, something inside me clicked. It wasn't about Rachel anymore. It was about patterns. Because the truth is, Rachel wasn't the first person I'd let walk over me. She was just the one who left footprints deep enough to force me to see it. So I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I was finally ready to understand why I kept bleeding for people who never learned how to hold a wound. New relationships. You might be wondering if I started dating again. I did, slowly, carefully. The first time I felt a spark with someone, I panicked. Thought, what if it happens again? What if I miss the signs? What if I'm wrong about them like I was with her? But then I realized that fear? It's the scar, not the wound. And scars mean you survived. So I chose to try again, but this time with boundaries, with honesty, with self-respect, and with someone who doesn't flinch when I talk about what I've been through. Final thoughts. This story started with a video, a betrayal, a revelation 2 years too late. But now, it's not about her anymore. Not even about revenge or redemption. It's about reclamation of my past, my peace, my self-worth. And if you've made it this far, maybe it's about yours too. To anyone who's been lied to, ghosted, cheated on, or manipulated, you don't need to be perfect to be loved, but you do need to be whole to be free. People say there's 3 sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth. I know what he thinks of me, what the messages, the video, the cheating said about who I was. And maybe I deserve some of it, but not all of it, because he never knew the whole story, because I never let him. I met him at a time when I was drowning. Grief doesn't wear a name tag, it just sits inside you like rot. My father had just passed. I was failing my classes. My mum was drinking again. And then he showed up, steady, quiet, kind. He didn't ask questions, he just listened, took care of things. Me. It felt like safety. But safety isn't the same as connection, and love can look a lot like obligation when you're too scared to be alone. I didn't mean for things to get messy. I didn't plan the lies. But when Marcus entered the picture, I felt something I hadn't in months: control. With him, I wasn't the grieving daughter or the girlfriend under emotional watch. I was wanted, desired, dangerous even. It was intoxicating. And when guilt crept in, I buried it under excuses. He doesn't get me. He treats me like a patient, not a partner. He'll move on, he always does. But I underestimated him, and I overestimated myself. When he confronted me at the coffee shop, I wasn't surprised. I knew the truth would come out eventually. It always does. What surprised me was how calm he was. No anger, no pleading, just clarity. And for a moment, I hated him for it. Because that calm, that peace, it meant he had moved on. It meant I no longer lived rent-free in his mind. It meant the story was his again. I told him I didn't owe him anything, but the truth, I did, and still do. An apology won't fix the damage I caused, but silence is worse. So here it is. I'm sorry. Not just for the cheating, not just for the lies. I'm sorry I let him love someone who was still learning to love herself. I'm sorry I made him the villain in stories that were mine to own. I'm sorry I hurt him because I couldn't face my own emptiness. We haven't spoken since that day. We probably never will again. But if you're reading this, if you were the one left behind wondering what went wrong, know this. Sometimes the people who hurt you weren't trying to be cruel. They were trying not to drown. And sometimes in their flailing, they pull others under. That doesn't make it okay, but it does make it human. Epilogue. He healed. I watched quietly from the distance we earned. I stayed messy, lost. I'm still figuring it out. But I've started therapy too. I've started telling the truth, even when it makes me look bad. Because the truth is the only thing that survives once everything else burns down. And maybe one day, I'll be the kind of person someone like him could love. But for now, I'm just trying to be someone I can live with. 5 years later, it was raining. Not the dramatic movie scene kind of rain. Just a steady drizzle that made the streetlights look softer and the world feel slower. I was in town for a wedding, my cousin's. One of those family affairs where everyone pretends time hasn't passed, even though it clearly has. I ducked into a bookstore to kill time between the rehearsal and dinner. It smelled like paper and dust and something familiar I couldn't quite name. And that's when I saw her. Rachel. 5 years later. She looked different. Shorter hair, warmer clothes, no makeup, no armor. She was flipping through a worn copy of Norwegian Wood, half smiling at something on the page. I almost didn't say anything, but before I could turn to leave, she looked up. Our eyes met. Her smile faded, replaced by something quieter. Not regret, not pain, just recognition. "Hey," she said. Just that. "Hey," I replied. We stood there for a second too long, then she closed the book and said, "Still like Murakami?" I smiled. "Still trying to figure him out." She laughed. "A real one?" The tension cracked slightly. We talked, not like exes, not like enemies, like people. People with a shared past that no longer defined them. She told me she was teaching now, literature at a community college. Said she started writing again. I told her I'd switched careers, left marketing, got into counselling. Yeah, the irony isn't lost on me. We didn't talk about what happened, not directly, but it was there, in the space between words. At one point she said, "I used to think I ruined you." I looked at her, really looked. "You didn't ruin me," I said. "You revealed me." She blinked. "That's heavy." Truth usually is. We both laughed at that. We parted without exchanging numbers. No vague promises to catch up, no forced goodbyes, just a nod, a small smile. And then she said, "I'm glad you're okay." I replied, "I'm glad you're becoming." And we walked away. Final note. Some stories don't need a grand ending. Sometimes healing is just recognizing the past without letting it control the present. And sometimes closure doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it's just rain and the quiet peace of knowing you survived the storm.